Okay, so I'm just wanting to talk about something. I just kind of like had a realization. So I just want to talk about it. So I saw this video. I think her name is Space Cowboy, something like that, on TikTok. I saw one of her videos on Facebook. It was talking about how when you manifest something, the time that everything seems to get harder is when your manifestation is really doing the work, or when you're doing the work for your manifestation. So, I just recently had an experience myself where that made a lot of sense. So, like, I've been manifesting my counterpart for the past, like, almost a year or so, maybe a little less than a year. And when I say that, I don't mean that I've been doing like intense step-by-step manifestation techniques and stuff. I've done a couple intention rituals, but like not really. So anyways, I was kind of feeling the pull this past week of just really wanting connection. And so I caved and I joined Facebook dating, and I was like, I'll just give it a shot, just see how it goes. So early on, I already was setting higher standards for myself than I had before, and not responding to people who sent the bare minimum text, just like saying hey or how are you. I wasn't responding to those messages because that's very basic, very low effort, and it's like I'm not gonna pour my sacred energy into someone who is giving nothing. So there was one guy that I like started connecting to and was having this resonance with, and like that first day really, like I was having like sacral responses and energy activations and stuff like that. I mean, and it felt like that could have really been something. But the very next day, his energy is just giving the odd kind of orange flag here and there, It's like I was being very open and real, being my full self. This is crooked. So, I was being my full self, and I could tell he was holding back. And to an extent, it's like there's holding back out of being a private person, and then there's holding back out of, a fear of vulnerability or not fully being in touch with yourself or whatever. And so I just started like catching the patterns of how when I would say something deeper or that mattered to me, that carried more emotional weight, he, wasn't really responding to those things so much. He'd kind of respond to more of the surface stuff in my message than those deeper things. And I hate that shit. It's like, if you're gonna text me back, if you're gonna respond, like, respond to everything I fucking said, dude. The fuck? Anyways, so by the second night, I was already like, yeah, no, this is not giving the kind of energy that I give, that I deserve reciprocated. So I told him that I was just gonna like, when I don't feel like my emotional energy is being met, I tend to pull away. And I just like, he had wanted to call and talk, and I was like, I don't think I'm up for that right now. And so he was just kind of like, oh, okay. He was like, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And I was like, I didn't respond. And he ends up texting me that next morning, and he said, I'm sorry if I was unintentionally absent yesterday. I was just like, okay, it's just like if you can't even like realize specifically what you did and, you know, acknowledge that and be willing to show up with more presence, it's like, okay, you're not at the same level. You know, this is not a match. So I like ended up just texting him later that day and just saying, you know, I don't feel like this is really the right fit for me, and basically that was it. He didn't respond. So by the end of that day, this was yesterday actually. By the end of that day, man, I was so over it. Like all day yesterday, I was being a lot more strict with how I interacted with the guys on the app, and just not given much, honestly, because it's like, why am I gonna give you much when you can't show me that there's any kind of way this will be reciprocal for me? So anyways, it was kind of to the point where it was just like a training ground for my discernment, and I'm getting off track. I'm setting the context, okay? So anyways, I reached a point where I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna find my match on here, because I'm not just looking for companionship. I'm looking for communion. I'm looking for someone who can meet me where I'm at, someone that I don't have to mother into emotional attunement, you know? Because I've been through that fire before, you know? And I've grown past it. I've grown so much in my self-worth because of the last intense emotional transformation I experienced through connection. And I'm not playing those games. I'm not playing games, you know? I'm looking for real resonance. And most people out here are not even fully in touch with themselves. So anyways, I guess I just realized that by me doing that and me leading with these standards, you know, showing up in the way that I know myself to be now, not how I would have shown up before, where I'm just happy to get, you know, attention or whatever. It's like, this is where I'm matching my new beliefs about myself. And yesterday I ended up just deleting the dating app. I got off of it. I deleted my profile. And it was just like after I deleted it, man, I felt energy, like a weight of energy just like lift off of me, and had some energetic responses in my crown and my third eye, and it was just like, oh, there's my power. It was being weighed down by the parasitic weight of men, you know, wanting to taste my energy or whatever else, you know. And it was just really disgusting. Like, honestly, when I experienced that lifting of the energy, it was like, that's absolutely disgusting. The fact that I felt so weighed down, like my psychic gifts were more turned down those few days and stuff, and it was just like, literally right after like I said, I was feeling my energy more again, and like feeling spirit touch and stuff, which I hadn't really felt as much those few days. And so anyways, I was just really disgusted, and I did a whole like purge of my energy. And so essentially, I ramble, guys. But essentially, I showed up in the way that my manifestation was asking me to. I didn't show up how I used to would have. I showed up with how I truly believe I am now, how I truly feel I deserve to be met now, which is one step closer to bringing in my counterpart, because I understand that he's gonna meet me, he's gonna match me, he's gonna see my value and show up as a mature, emotionally attuned man, right? And so, yeah, that was just a really valuable insight that came to me today, that, you know, I may not be consciously like, oh, let me do this 369 manifestation method or whatever. Like, I'm not doing all that, but I'm still manifesting. And that's the thing, like, we're spiritual beings. Like, we're manifesting all the time, you know? So your manifestations don't have to be so intense. If you're doing the work on yourself, you're doing your inner work, you're doing your shadow work, which is essentially going back to the places that you've been hurt, going back to your wounds and reframing and, you know, sitting with those pieces of yourself and telling them what they need to hear and all that stuff. Like, it doesn't have to be this intense, oh, I journaled this, that. Like, if that's your process, absolutely. But it doesn't have to be like any one set way. As long as you're doing the inner work and working on yourself and working on your beliefs and going through the process of becoming, you are manifesting. You know, you are going to manifest the things that are right for you, because that's just how it works. When you start showing up for yourself, the universe is going to show up for you. So, yeah.